Hello, in this video today we're going to talk about spirits and the whole subject of being cremated or being buried. So I'm really excited to get started with this video, but first of all, I'm Gaynor Carrillo from the Spiritual Success School. I'm a medium and mentor for all types of spiritual arts, including mediumship, and I have 2 books that I've written about my life as a medium. The question about being buried or cremated, I'm going to respond to this the way that spirit have shown me over thousands and thousands of readings I've done over a lifetime of working as a medium. So we'll just go back a little bit before we get to the cremation or the burial, and we'll just talk about the process of dying. I know nobody really wants to talk about death, however it's something that does come to us all, so we're just going to go through the process of dying and what actually happens when we die. When we die, our spirit leaves our body through the crown chakra on our head. The moment our spirit has left our body becomes useless. That's it, our body's dead, and very soon it starts to decompose. So it just becomes absolutely useless the minute our spirit's left our body. Now that's not the same as when we do astral travelling. When we do astral travelling, our spirit just kind of detaches from our body slightly, and our spirit can travel, but it is still connected. There's like this invisible energy connection. A lot of people call it a cord, this like invisible cord that keeps our spirit and our body connected. So our spirit can leave our body at any time, but it will still be there. So even though it's astral traveling, it will still be connected to our body. But when we die, it actually leaves our body. So it leaves from the crown chakra. And this is why a lot of people, when they're dying, you'll find that the feet are the coldest place first, because the spirit is slowly leaving our body. Now, whether or not somebody dies very quickly, or if they die very slowly for an illness, our spirit will leave our body in the same way. It may leave quickly, like vroom, like that, if it's an accident or something like a heart attack, or it may just leave very slowly if there's a long illness involved. Now, before we die, we often have spirit visit us, whether it's through something sudden or whether it's a long illness. We'll often have spirit around us, and a lot of the time, spirit will show me that before they was dying, they could see the grandmother in spirit, or they saw the dad in spirit. Or many of my clients have told me that their loved one told them before they passed, I had a dream last night about grandma, or I've been seeing grandma in my dreams. Now, that doesn't mean every time you see a spirit in your dreams or you send spirit around you that you're going to die. That does not mean that. But it's a different kind of connection. And it really is them preparing us. So when that moment comes and our spirit's leaving our body, the whole afterlife thing isn't alien to us. It's kind of like, oh, right, okay, yeah, I saw my grandma in my dreams this last few nights and I'm seeing her again now. So it doesn't feel so alien. It's a little bit like they cushion the blow, so to speak. And when it's our moment to leave this world, leave our body, we'll have one spirit family member who will come and help us take that process of leaving our body and going back into the spirit world. So we'll have somebody from our spirit family come and just be there, just to help us pass over. So we're not alone during that process. Now, once we leave our spirit body, then we're no longer physical beings, we're back to being spiritual beings, and that's as simple as that. That's the step from being alive to being in the afterlife. That one step is when our spirit leaves our body. There is no being lost along the way. We don't get lost there's no 2 doors to choose from, and if we choose the wrong door, we're going to be lost forever. We don't wander the earth because we chose the wrong door or we didn't find the light. We're not lost for years, and God can't help us and our spirit family can't help us, but we would just wait for this one medium to come and light a candle or tell us to go to the left or show us where the light is. That's not the way it works. Once we die, we're back in the afterlife. There's no in between. So our spirit will leave our body, and the moment it's left our body, we're back to being spiritual beings, which means we're back with our spirit family and we're back in the afterlife. So that's the process of dying. And then shortly after we've passed over to the afterlife, and I say shortly because there's no time in the afterlife like we know it, but shortly after, sometime after, they have a return home party. So they have this massive celebration for our return home. And in the living world, they have the wake, they have the goodbye, they have the tears and saying goodbye to us. So what happens to our physical body when we die? Well, we don't care. Once we become spirits, we don't care. It literally is like taking off a jacket. And once you take off this jacket, it's going to start decomposing. It's dead. It's not very nice. And we really don't care what happens to it. So if somebody you love has passed over and you're responsible for what happens to them when they cross over, if you know what they want, maybe they told you what they want, or maybe they had it wrote down what they want. And if they've paid for funeral services, or they've got the money to pay for that, or you've got the money to pay for that, and you can honour that, that's beautiful. That's great. Yeah, that's lovely. And there's so many beautiful funerals out there. However, if for whatever reason you can't honour that, maybe you don't know what they want, maybe they've never told you if they prefer to be buried or cremated, maybe financially you can't give them what they wanted because they didn't have any backup plan and you can't afford it financially. Maybe there's a conflict in the family that's stopping you from doing things that the way you feel they wanted or what you really want. There can be many reasons. But let me just say, if for whatever reason you can't honour what you feel they want or what you would want for them, if you can't honour that, don't feel bad, because spirit don't care. They don't care if their body is buried or if their body is cremated. They really don't care. Out of the thousands and thousands and thousands of readings I've done, the amount of spirit that have come and spoke to me over the years about their death, about their passing, and never have they ever indicated that they cared whether they was cremated or buried, ever. And there's no difference. There's not a place where spirit who are buried goes and spirit who are cremated goes. There's only one afterlife and we're all there together. So in that case, it really doesn't matter. And in that situation, I would say if you can't honour what they wanted, because obviously it's always nice if you can, but if you can't, don't feel bad about that. Just do what you can do at the time. Now, when it comes to the actual funeral, whether they're being buried or cremated, I know that a majority of spirits do go to the funeral. In fact, many spirits have shown me over the years that they go to the funeral. Their funeral is basically the last goodbye, even though they don't really go and they're always by our side. But it's our chance just to celebrate their life and to talk about them, to say goodbye to them, to let our emotions flow and to have that connection with them. So a lot of spirits definitely go to their funeral. However, a funeral doesn't have to be in a church with hundreds of people. Maybe your loved one had this beautiful ceremony in a church and there was family come and there was loads of flowers, etc. And that was beautiful. And I've known many spirits tell me about that over the years. Like, oh, say thank you to my funeral. It was a beautiful send-off. My cousin came all the way from Australia for my funeral. It was amazing that she came all that way. Things like this are really beautiful. However, I've also had the complete opposite. I've had spirits say to me, tell her thank you for coming for my funeral. Even though nobody else came, it was a beautiful send-off. I was with her. Yeah, I've had spirits who have only had 1 or 2 people turn up at their funeral and they've been happy with that. And if you can't go to somebody's funeral, if a loved one passes over and you can't go to the funeral, the amazing thing is spirit don't see the funeral as just that one moment where the family gather. That's kind of like what we all want, and it's like what happens in a lot of families. It's what we see in programs and on the television. However, it's not the reality for a lot of people. Sometimes people die and they don't have many friends or family left. Maybe they all live far away and you just can't physically get to them. Maybe you don't know when the funeral is. Maybe you don't even have the body to bury or cremate. When it comes to spirit and saying that personal goodbye, it doesn't have to be at the actual funeral. It can be anywhere. If you can go and sit in your garden and just take a moment to think about your loved one and say your personal goodbye to them, even though they're going to still be there with you, that to spirit is important because they're going to be with you. If you go to your local church and light a candle and the funeral's in a whole different town, or you've only just found out that they've passed, or you couldn't get there to the funeral, and you just go to a local church and light a candle, or you go and sit by the sea and watch the waves, maybe throw a flower in the sea. Whatever it is you decide to do, maybe you want to plant a tree, plant a plant. Whatever it is that you want to do, just to honour and have a personal goodbye with your loved one, they will be there for that. They will be there individually to everybody who says goodbye. So burials, cremations, funerals shouldn't be as stressful as they are. They're a very expensive, stressful time on top of a time which is normally a very sad time where we're grieving, and the whole funeral situation can add so much more stress onto that. And I hope this video just helps you to know that spirit really don't care about all that. So we've talked about how they die, we've talked about cremation or burial, we've talked about the funeral. Then we often have the last thing, which is whether if they're cremated, we often get the ashes, and if they're buried, they're often in a cemetery. When it comes to this, what do I do with the ashes? Well, again, this is personal. So if you know what your loved one wanted you to do with the ashes, and you can do that, you can honour that, that's fantastic. But if you can't, don't worry. If they just sat on a shelf, stuck in a cupboard at the moment, if you don't know what to do with them, maybe years have gone by and you still don't know what to do with them, you can't part with them, that's okay. If you put them somewhere and then think, oh, did I put them in the wrong place? Maybe I should have put them somewhere else. I put them over the sea, but I should have really put them in his favourite field, or I should have put them in a different town. Wherever. To them, it really doesn't matter. And when it comes to cemeteries, in a cemetery is where there is least spirits. Spirits don't hang around in the cemeteries. In fact, spirit very rarely go to cemeteries. The only reason a spirit will go to a cemetery is if we go, because they hear our thoughts when we tune into them. When we say we're going to the cemetery and we're taking some flowers, or we're going to light a candle, or whatever we do at the cemetery, when you go there, they will often walk in with you and then leave with you. They don't just hang around cemeteries, but they will go there with you, because that's your moment to remember them, and that's the moment where you're connecting to them, so they'll go with you. However, if you don't want to go to a cemetery and instead you decide to sit in the church and just do the same thing just to remember them, they'll go there with you. If you decide to go anywhere else peaceful and just sit there and do something for them, they will be there with you. So you don't have to follow the tradition of, I need to go to the cemetery, I need to do this, I need to do that. But it can be really nice to find that time just to reconnect with them, just to remember them, just to say, hey, I know you're here with me. Look, I've just left you these flowers. I'm thinking of you. And that can be in a cemetery, or it can be anywhere else. So I hope this video just takes off the little bit of the question of, loved ones being cremated or buried. There's absolutely no difference. And they really showed me over the years that they don't care one iota what we do with their body. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a comment, hit like, and if you've not subscribed to my channel, subscribe. And if you want to know anything else about spirit, also just let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can do a video about that. So I'll see you soon. Thank you very much for watching.